Mr. Chairman, can I ask Joe? Can you talk to me real quickly about the size? You know, part of the testimony is about
to remind them to let them know.
If you limit the number of sites, you're also going to drive them to be larger, which could be counterproductive towards the goal of minimizing crime, et cetera, in areas surrounding them. Is there a square footage limitation in any part of this ordinance? I haven't been able to see one. Maybe I missed it.
Yeah, through the chair, Commissioner Woods, there isn't.
And the justification for that?
The justification is that we, again, we're trying to provide some flexibility for these facilities to be located. We didn't feel that there was a square footage limitation had any correlation to any type of increases in crime or burden. We just wanted to have enough flexibility where someone could open a small collective or a larger collective.
So Mr. Button, do we have, in your legal opinion in following this, any room to consider square footage limitations or not?
Well, we're operating in an area where there's not a lot of case law and precedent to deal with. I don't know that there's been any cases that I'm aware of that deal with any square footage requirements here under these circumstances.
So, what's the answer? I'm not aware of anything.
The answer is we don't know. But what we'd have to have before we could even speculate at an answer is some evidence in the record that square footage has some reasonable
that there's a reasonable nexus of crime
between
safety.
Health, safety, and welfare.
Yeah. But having heard you say that, we as a commission could impose a square footage on it in part of our recommendation at this point. Whether that will work legally.
Well, before you do something like that,
I'm not suggesting.
you'd want to have some evidence that protects health, safety, and welfare.
Right, and that's normally how we operate with some evidence anyway.
Yeah.
Commissioner Norby, and then after that, Commissioner Reese.
What other uses and zoning requirements do we have that require a specified zone? There's lots of those, I know, coupled with a distance requirement. So adult, you mentioned.
Yeah, the one that comes to mind is the adult entertainment business.
And what is that distance requirement?
They're about the same distances, same distance requirements.
1,000 feet?
I believe it's 1,000 feet around other adult entertainment facilities, and I believe it's 100 feet around residential churches.
Okay, liquor also has some.
500 feet.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
I was correct, it was not 100 feet, it's 500 feet.
Okay, thank you.
It's not the same.
Other uses that have distance requirements?
None. There are no.
Commissioner Norman, I believe those are the only two that we currently have. We do have one for, I'm sorry, so one did come to mind that we do have is a distance requirement from establishments that sell paraphernalia.
Alcohol, churches, schools, anything like that?
Well, correct. I mean, those are the type of distance requirements that we do have.
Just the ABC has regulations about liquor stores, so they enforce them as well.
Okay, and then the issue with respect to view from street, I'm familiar with a lot of industrial footprints, if you will. That is, it's kind of a parking area, courtyard, doors open up into the courtyard. There's perhaps an alley or loading area that rings the outside so the trucks can get in, make their deliveries. What do you do in a situation where it's a storefront in an industrial area, or it's a suite in an industrial suite? I'll use that example. But it's not visible from the street. It's an interior courtyard industrial suite. What happens there?
Well, in those situations, we specify that we would like to see the facility located in a manner where it could be seen from one of the abutting streets, maybe the entrance to the area, and that it's not accessed by an alley or.
So I think I would like to see that defined as, you know, as a, what would typically be referred to as a front, either to the public area or the street.
And public frontage.
Then, this issue...
Before you leave that, Commissioner Norby, thank you. Where I can understand you, would this be in an industrial area, there might be a marquee signage, and it might be...
Well, there are some that are just long rectangular buildings. There are some that are built in a courtyard type fashion, yes, with a common parking area. So some of those courtyard suites are not visible from the street. So that's just a concern there. All right. So this would be, in these, I believe you have identified 15 individual parcels, if I'm not mistaken, where this would be allowed by right.
Commissioner Norby, yes. 15 to 20. There's some guesswork that goes in there when you take into account the buffers.
Right.
Obviously, if a site goes right in the middle of an area, it might wipe out the entire area.
So it's allowed by right, but there's obviously regulations and oversight that go on, just like a restaurant is allowed by right, but they have certain requirements that they have to do, or any other use. Is there a provision, is there a major use or a minor use provision below that? So it's just here they go, they're allowed here, nowhere else. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Commissioner Reese.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I looked at some of the cities and counties and other jurisdictions over here. Morro Bay, Santa Clara County, Santa Barbara, San Francisco, Contra Costa, Alameda, Solano, and Los Angeles. Well, no, Los Angeles is not mentioned. Anyway, and over the last 49 years, I've worked in virtually every one of those jurisdictions doing some minor, some major amounts of litigation with respect to those local government entities. And the difference between Santa Barbara, San Francisco, and LA, and Solano County or Contra Costa County is, and then I look at the statistical number that you have of incidents upon which you're basing your conclusions upon which this setback is required, it's quite small. And I don't think you have a big enough universe to justify the conclusions that you're reaching with respect to that. And if the individual is correct, and Los Angeles has a report out, which we did not have included in here, that shows that's not the case, I think I'd be very much like to know that. And the other thing I'd like to look at would be, can we deal with this in the agricultural area outside of the commercial area? I mean, to me, it seems like there's all kinds of places in the boonies you could put these things to be far enough away that it's not going to be a problem from my personal standpoint. I used to fly over there in a helicopter all the time. You see all kinds of stuff in the boonies. They're growing out there.
Commissioner Reese, you can't adopt some of those.
Okay, sorry about that, sir.
Commissioner Woods.
Yeah, just a quick question back on the square footage issue. In San Diego, you know, what's the average size of these dispensaries?
We only have one in the county.
Yeah.
In the city?
Yeah.
Around 1,000 square feet.
5,000 square feet?
Around 1,000.
1,000.
Around 1,000.
That's about a small saw.
But gentlemen, growing's not happening.
Pardon me, you need to come to the podium.
You know, come on up for a minute. I just wanted to look into the size.
I appreciate that. Growing is not happening on most sites right now because of the contentious position the DA has taken. The grow equipment and the actual grows are extremely expensive. And when the DA just comes in and destroys everything, it makes it very hard for a nonprofit to get back up and running. So right now, they are not operating their grows at their locations. Thank you.
And the average locations are around 1,000 square feet?
Yes.
And are there larger ones in the county?
I have one in San Diego City. We are incorporated as Indigenous Agricultural Cooperative. State land has been given to us in the county already to grow, and the city is where we're dispensing are in the 6,000 square feet.
And I'm 1,000 square feet, so there's the difference between it. He's a large collective and I'm a small collective.
Okay, good. So it goes back to, is it a good idea to put a ceiling on the square footage